Hi, at this point, we're going to finish working on our pegboard. I will continue to make sure that I'm in the right project path, and I am. I'm going to go to Open. I'm going to open up my assembly. At this point, at a minimum, you should have the round peg inserted into the hole. We still have to place the the square peg into the square hole. So I'm going to use that, or I'm going to insert it by using two constraints. So from the ribbon, I'm going to select Constrain. I'm going to select the top of my square peg, go to Rotate from the navigation bar, click and drag and rotate so I can see the inside, front, inside of the square hole. Right click OK to cancel out the rotate tool. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to place a make constraint on the inside here of the square hole. Click Apply. And then I'm going to close the place constraint dialog box because I need to drag this out of the way. So I'm going to go home, drag the square peg out of the way, go back to my constrain tool. I'm going to click the right side of the square peg, click rotate, click and drag to my right so I can see the inside, front of the square hole. Click OK to cancel out of the rotate tool. Zoom in, place a make constraint on the inside, front of the square hole. Click Apply, close the constraint dialog box, go home, and I should be able to drag that. So I've got two make constraints. I can see those exemplified here in the browser, mate 2, mate 3, and if you notice they highlight. So that tells me where those constraints are. Now according to our instructions, let me scroll down. So we've completed this step. Now what we are going to do is we're going to use a new feature, or learn a new skill. We are going to use the component panel, select Create, and we're actually going to create an end to the pegboard. So this part's a little involved. So from the component panel, I'm going to select Create. I'm going to create an in-place component pop-up will appear in the new component name dialog box. Name the component End. Sketch the box beside Constrain, sketch plane to selected face, click OK. So what I'm going to do is from the ribbon, I'm going to select Create. Now, most of you will call this End. I've got to rename it because I've created so many of these. So I'm going to call this End, today's what, the 25th? So End 25. I'm going to click OK. I am now ready to create my piece. I'm going to click the front of my pegboard, left click once. From the ribbon, go to Start 2D Sketch, click the pencil. I'm going to click the XY plane. From the ribbon, I'm going to select Project Geometry. I'm going to place my cursor on the front of my pegboard. The pegboard should now be outlined by a yellow outline because I need to have some kind of geometry to constrain the sketch to. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the rectangle tool. I'm going to click and drag a rectangle. I'm not going to add any dimensional constraints to it. I'm going to right click OK. I should have something that looks like this. I'm going to go back to the rectangle tool. I'm going to start in the upper right hand corner where my pegboard, where the upper horizontal axis and vertical axis meet. So if I place my cursor over that axis where the horizontal and vertical axis meets, it's exemplified by a green dot. Green means go. Left click, click and drag to the lower left hand corner. You'll see how it kind of grays out. That means that I now am coincident on the left-hand corner, left click, right click OK to cancel that out. Now I'm going to use my trim tool because I need to trim away some of my excess here because I don't need this. So I'm going to click the trim tool from the ribbon. I'm going to select this line right here. I'm left with this outline. I'm going to click Escape to get myself out of the trim tool. Now I can start adding dimensions. According to my instructions, I need to add a dimension that is 3/4 of an inch in width. So I'm going to click the left-hand vertical axis, the right-hand vertical axis, push up, and I'm going to make that 0.75. According to my instructions, there's a constraint here that is 0.375 inches. So from this corner, upper right-hand corner, where the horizontal and vertical axis of the pegboard meet, to this corner is 0.375 of an inch, so I'm going to click dimension. I'm going to click this endpoint here, the endpoint of the pegboard, push up, and I'm going to make that 0.375. Then I'm going to do exactly the same thing down here in the lower left-hand corner. Dimension, I'm going to click the lower endpoint of the pegboard. I'm going to click this endpoint of the rectangle that I just sketched, drag down, and I'm going to make that 0.375. I'm going to click dimension, and I'm going to click the top horizontal axis of the rectangle, click the bottom horizontal axis of the rectangle, and I'm going to make this the same length as my pegs, which is 3 inches. I've got one problem now, is that I need to center this rectangle so that it is in the center of the pegboard. So we're going to use a horizontal constraint. So from the ribbon, I'm going to go to my constraint panel and select horizontal constraint. I'm going to hover over the pegboard to find the midpoint of the pegboard. I'm going to hover over to find the midpoint of the rectangle I sketched. They're both exemplified by green dots. Left click, they snap together. I'm good to go. You see how this is all blue? This means that it's all constrained, so I'm good to go. I'm going to finish the sketch, even though it said one dimension was needed. I'm going to extrude the rectangle that I sketched, click on the inside of the feature I'm trying to create, direction 2, and I'm going to make that a distance of 3 inches. Click OK. Now I'm going to click the green marble to return to my original assembly. Here's my end piece. My end piece is here. It also shows up in the browser as N25. What I want to do now is I want to place another end on the other side of my pegboard. So I'm going to go to place. I'm going to find my end. So I call that N25, I believe. Let's go to all files so I can, for some reason it's not showing up here. Where's N25? Oh, cancel. I need to click save. That's right. So click save, yes to all, click OK. I guess it would help if I click save first, because now it will show up. So now when I go to place, I should find, and there it is, N25. All right, so left click, right click, OK. Now what I need to do is I need to rotate this, the new component around. So I'm going to go to free rotate, click on the item that I wish to rotate. I'm going to click and hold down the left mouse button, pull to my right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click OK to cancel out of the free rotate tool. And I'm going to place a make constraint or glue on the end of this dado. That's what this notch is called. It's called the dado. So I'm going to go to constrain. I'm going to place a make constraint on the inside of the dado. Go to rotate or free orbit from my navigation bar. Pull to my right. Right click OK to get myself out of the rotate tool. Click the right side of the pegboard. Click apply. Close the dialog box. Go home. I'm going to drag this out of the way. I'm going to go back to my free rotate tool again. I'm going to rotate the whole end so I can see the inside top edge of the dado. Right click OK to get myself out of rotate. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click constrain. I'm going to place a make constraint on the upper side of that dado. Place a make constraint to the top of the pegboard. Click apply. Now I have 1 degree of freedom left. I've placed 2 degrees of freedom. I notice that this slides along the dado. Obviously in the real world we don't want this happening, so I need to place 1 more constraint. We're going to use a flush constraint. Remember, it always defaults to mate. Now I want to go to flush, so I'm going to click flush. I'm going to click the front of the end piece, the front of the pegboard. Click apply. Go home. And now I've got both end pieces. And that's how both end pieces are created, and the extra end piece is fully constrained to the pegboard.